This holiday season was quite different because I obviously spent it alone, and that was a theme that I have seen all over 2020, in that I have never been this lonely. If I were to look at my day, I look at my work computer. Then when I'm done, I look at my personal computer because I'm watching Netflix or YouTube. And then in between and afterwards, I'm looking at my phone. But meeting people in the flesh, that's only been my sister. And I've noticed then that all my conversations have been around work or with my sister. And that is not really healthy. So I tried to understand a little bit more why this holiday season felt even worse. And I guess part of it is obviously because I do not celebrate Christmas. But in the previous years, I did not really mind because we're all obliged to take the days off. So the timeline of the country is pretty much still run by a Christian calendar, even if a lot of the populations are not, which means that a lot of people still take the days off in leading to Christmas. So Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, Boxing Day is the day after, all the way up to New Year's. So you do have seven days or so where you're just not doing anything because there is nothing special you tend to do. And in the previous years it was okay because I would just go outside and see what people were doing. But this year I obviously couldn't go anywhere, and there wasn't much celebration around me. And yeah, after a few days, I just started thinking, so what would it take for me to get out of my isolation in this context where I know I'm not going out anytime soon? And I know that even when we're allowed to go out, I'm still not that person who likes to go places. I like walking alone in parks. I like calm things. I don't like going to places with people in them. But I still crave human interaction. So I thought I need to work on my relationships and just reassess the status of my friendships, etc. So during the holiday season, I did write a few letters to some people who I used to write letters to. I have some cards for people internationally who would like something very British, very cliche. It would have been either this or a phone box, right? Then I have one for my Brit friend, and then one for the others. They've already received the very cliche stuff. So I like to use these little stickers so I remember which card is for whom. So this is my first batch. And then I usually have my letters from last year so that I get my addresses from there. This is my pen, and I just cleaned it because I'm changing my ink. I'm going to use this Iroshizuku ink. The color is called Yamabudo. So it is a very deep burgundy, an oxblood color. I've never written with an ink like this. Usually I go for greens. I love Irish green, some shades of blue. But this year I decided to go different. And that's something I usually do every year. Let me get my dessert because it's my break. I got my chocolate. So I was assessing who do I consider actually my friends. And so I just, I've never been one of those people to initiate a discussion. I'm not very active on social media. I don't even have Facebook app or Messenger or whatever, which is typically, it's quite surprising because people think, oh, Uga is on YouTube and I will post the odd thing on Instagram. But I'm very reserved and keep to myself. So I looked over my WhatsApp. And then I made it a point to just talk to one person every now and then, just text them, because that's something that I typically didn't do. I also arranged to call a couple of my very, very, very best friends whom I didn't call in ages. And you know that they're really amazing because even if you did not have a call in like 7 months or whatever, it feels like you never not talked. And then you have people like my old mentor. I sent him a Christmas card, and that's the reason why I filmed this video today, is because I sent him the Christmas card over a month ago, and he just texted me today and he said, look, I just received your card and it has been forever. And I was like, oh my god, one, it took over a month, and two, I'm so glad that he actually answered, because at some point I was just wondering whether that was the end of it, because he's been my mentor for a while, and I know we only catch up, even if it's by text, every few months or something like that. But I felt that maybe I just lost him as a mentor, because I know I have mentees. I don't always make the effort to reach out to them, but they always reach out to me. So I have a mentee who every time, he keeps changing countries for some reason, but like, he makes an effort to reach out. He always says, okay, whenever I'm in London, we're going to meet, etc., etc. And even if it's usually every like 3 to 4 months, I'm always happy to see him. I'm always happy to give him advice. And I felt that I lost that with my mentor. So I just decided I will actually make it happen. And he actually tried to call me, but I missed his call because I was talking to my mentee at this work. But he will call me whenever he's free, and we'll try to make something work. But I want to have a catch up this week. Similarly, there was also a relationship that I thought I might have lost. It's also with somebody, very old person. And I also sent him this card, and I was thinking, I did not receive anything back. Is he dead? Because our relationship has always been paper-based, so nothing electronic. Same thing with this old lady also in New York. I mean, I have her contact info. I think I have her husband's contact info. But anyway, I always thought it was sweet that I always send her these letters. She never writes back, and I told her from the beginning to never write back, because I know it's a hassle. But whenever I would go to New York, I would see her. And I just felt like it was good. I would write her a letter every 6 months. And again, it was one of those situations where I was wondering, did she die? I mean, the US has 500,000 deaths, so it's not like a very far-fetched assumption. So I asked a friend, one of my friends whom I reconnected with yesterday, and he said, no, Susie's doing fine. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm really now like reassessing all of my old friendships. I didn't have many made in the UK, so I have a few friends from work, and one very, very good friend. He's like my best friend. And then from Belgium, I don't really have friends, but I do have one mentor. That's the person whom I got the card. I gave the card, and one acquaintance. That's all. And then from Morocco, the issue is that I left Morocco over 5 years ago, and the last time I've been to the country was probably 3 years ago. So it's also quite difficult, though my best friends remain my best friends. So now the question that remains is, how will I be able to forge new friendships outside of work, given that I don't go out? By now you know how I work, so it is diagnosis, then planning, then action. In the first part, we saw that I realized I am relatively sad, and I did feel isolated by spending almost a year not having any human contact, and also having a bit of a feeling that I am at the stage where a lot of my Morocco relationships are too old, and some of them not worth salvaging, that I did not build relationships in Brussels, and that my UK relationships are starting to get strained, so I need to do something about it. So now let's talk planning. So what am I doing differently in the next few weeks and months to address this? As you've seen from the title of this video, I just decided to slow down. The thing is that part of the reason why my isolation was, let's say, insidious and then hit me in the face was because I was extremely busy. I was working crazy hours, and so although I would be I would feel lonely. I would be anyway too tired to do anything or try to change it. Now that I have started my healthier approach to my work-life balance, obviously I am more aware of the extra time that I get. But I just don't want to go out there and try to fill it in whichever way is possible, because I don't want to almost replace an addiction with an addiction, or replace something unhealthy with something also unhealthy. So it's almost giving myself time to heal and giving myself time to figure out what I want to do with my personal time, which I did not have before. That's the thing, it's a luxury for now. So first thing I'm doing differently is that I'm slowing down. The way I approached a lot of things was that because of the sheer amount of things I had on my plate, I treated everything as a check mark. Everything was something on my to-do list that came, whether it is getting a health check, whether it is working out, whether it is cooking, whether it is doing groceries. Everything was a little box on my to-do list and needed to be done. Because I had a different set of priorities, I needed to do things the most efficiently, which means that I did not necessarily see myself doing these things. At times I would be going go, 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 go. I wouldn't even know that I actually ate, or I wouldn't know, I wouldn't be able to tell you the details of how I went grocery shopping, etc., etc. So all I'm doing right now is I'm trying to do the same things that I had in my to-do list, but have them feel less rushed. That means that when I'm cooking, I'm now really taking the time to think, how can I make my meal the most enjoyable? If I have 15 minutes, I will make the most enjoyable meal within 15 minutes. And that might be by, for instance, whenever I have the time, cooking something that would have taken me a bit more time, but then having the portions. If I have half an hour, that's a half-hour meal. If I have 45 minutes, I will actually properly sit down and enjoy that. So instead of always trying to minimize the time I spend on cooking and on meals, I just focused on maximizing my pleasure and my enjoyment of a meal, and then trying to work around the other constraints. So I really pay attention to my meals presentation. Even if it's just an omelette, I actually start making my omelets look nice. So I got a little tamago pan, and I roll my omelets. I have filmed my very first attempt at doing it, which was not bad. Since then I have gotten much better, and there is something meditative about just rolling an omelette and doing it little by little. So I'm doing a lot of that meditative cooking. It's really about almost observing myself as I do these things. Same thing with taking care of my items. You know, I have set a capsule look for January, and I'm doing a capsule look for every month, and that has worked like a charm. It was mostly white and off-white shirts. The reason I'm wearing this is because I have run out of my shirts, because they're all in the wash, since a couple of the shirts that no longer worked, I got in the recycling. I will be buying a couple shirts to replace them, because I really loved that sequence, and bizarrely people noticed. that consistency of beautifully cared for clothes just actually, I thought it was more for me, and then I realized, like, one of my mentees actually commented on it, and she said, I really love all your shirts. Even my mentee, who's a boy, also commented, and he said, I really like how you have such a consistent image. That's my sister. So what else am I doing? I am trying to go the extra mile in whenever I'm taking care of things. So, for example, I said I am really being more deliberate in the clothing. Because I have my capsule, there is a lot less thinking and faffing around, but I also am more like, I take my shirts, whenever I wash them, I make sure I iron them. I didn't used to iron shirts, and I don't necessarily see a difference, except for a couple ones, but like I don't really see a big difference, because usually I tend to have open work shirts, I tend to have broderie anglaise and things like that. So if they are a little bit crumpled, it's not really the end of the world. But the act of carefully looking at my shirts and ironing them and then hanging them is such a loving act that I feel I carry myself differently. I feel I wear my clothes differently now that I'm doing this. I have been taking care of my shoes, so just putting on a fresh coat of a shoe cleaner. I think this weekend I'm going to finally polish my boots, because I've been wearing some boots for quite some time, usually just whenever I go out for grocery shopping and back, but I'm going to put them away because I'm not going to go grocery shopping. I managed to find some slots on Waitrose, so I'm going to order things online. I spent a lot of time thinking about my online grocery list. So I did the first online order, and I was very happy with it. The second one is arriving later this afternoon, and I'm really better at not having food go to waste. That's also something that just fills me with joy. Just looking at my fridge, looking at my pantry, really thinking of what are the things that I want to cook, and buying accordingly, because I've never been somebody who enjoys wasting food. So I always felt bad whenever something just wilted or turned off, or something turned bad. So I feel that I am less in a race and more actually living my life, and that is very important for me. So that is the planning part, right? Slowing down on everything. Like I'm taking time to handwrite certain things. During the festive period, I wrote a few letters. I decided to keep writing letters. So I'm going to refill my ink pen. And refilling my ink pen is something that you do, like you go counterclockwise to fill it. You have to clean it before. It's so meditative. And I'm trying to find a few of these things, but I don't plan them. The way I go about it is that it's something that I anyway have to do, but then when I do it properly. Right now, for example, as I'm talking to you, I'm looking at my little plants, and I realize I have a cactus that died. I have another plant that actually, I think it got some kind of disease and died. And my other cacti, when I got them, they were this tiny. Now they're like this big. So I need to add some more soil to them. And so this is also something that I will make sure to do this weekend. I will just get all my plants, add a little bit of soil. For the plants that died, I'm going to depot it. And I ordered some basil, or I don't know how you say it. But I just decided to have that basil plant, and I'm going to pot it whenever it arrives from Waitrose. And it's just a small thing where just touching the soil will make me grounded, and I'm also very happy of having that, because it reminds me of my grandmother. So when I was very young, I used to spend a lot of time with my grandmother, and she always liked to have plants. We didn't have a garden, but we had potters, like little pots with planters. That's what they're called. So for some reason, you have two things that I always have in mind. So basil and a flower. I forgot what it's called. These two things always remind me of my grandmother. So I'm going to have that. I have started actually. I didn't show you around, but I feel like my house is always clean. That's something that I'm enjoying. I even tried to use the Hoover and broke it a couple times, but I just stick it back in and then I go in. Yeah, I think this is really important. And I will continue trying to do a lot of your everyday things, but not feeling like, oh my God, what is coming next? Just doing them. Then the last step, which is the action, is when I will think, okay, so now what do I want to do? What do I want to do with my free time? The reason I didn't jump straight from, oh my God, I feel lonely, or I don't feel like I have a life, to what do I fill it with, is because I feel that I need time to almost find my own rhythm and rediscover myself. When you're doing things slowly, you just are more attuned to how you feel and your personality and all of that. And this for me is important because my brain is hyperactive. I think I have mentioned this a few times. And I do my best thinking when I am lightly stimulated. So that means that I need to be doing something like ironing, etc., for my brain to really get in the zone. And so I'm thinking that if I do that, but then I extend it to over a period of a few weeks, where I'm essentially doing things that put me in the zone, I would get to solve my conundrum of how do I manage to not feel down when I know that we are locked down all the way to summer, and that I always respect the rules. And I feel that once I get there, I will probably get some amazing ideas, because that's how I get my best ideas. It's when I'm in that zone. I also need to use that time to understand what is it that I like, because I had a lot of things that identified me as a person, like all my hobbies and what I enjoyed doing when I was in Morocco. But the thing is that it's been over 5 years. I have changed as a person. I have had a lot of experiences. I have been places, and so I cannot just look at where I left it 5-6 years ago and say now I'm going back to that. Which is why this introspection is quite important for me. So I cannot wait to see what I will enjoy. Like one of the things I learned about myself, and I learned that I really like from my stay in the UK, is actually clay shooting. I initially got into it because I was doing, it was during that period where I was just getting my diagnosis for ADHD, formal diagnosis. I was diagnosed before when I was in Morocco, actually, by my college counselor, and I did not get medication, but this time I really needed it, so I needed the formal diagnosis, right? But anyway, when I was doing a lot of research, I was, because I'm that person, I read quite a series of papers, academic papers, in the Nordics about how children with ADHD can actually almost get very clear focus when they do a target sport like target shooting. People have different dispositions for that. I really did not feel like I could be near a rifle. I just couldn't. So I went with something that was a little bit less scary for me. And I also, to make it less scary, I actually found a group of these old ladies, and I go shooting with my old ladies once a month. Obviously now we stopped during the lockdown, but if you had asked me several years ago whether I am the kind of person who would be clay shooting with a group of ladies who are 70 and 80 years old, and that's something that I find myself looking forward to, because it's a nice half day. We're walking in a green area. They have a completely different perspective on life. I get to see how they have this habit of always having two dogs, and then whenever a dog dies, they always replace it with another dog. So there is always an older and a younger dog, and they tell you about their shenanigans, tell you about their grandchildren. They complain about a lot of random things, and I feel it is a place where my job has no relevance. How I'm great at my job has no relevance. And it's so soothing that for a few hours I could be talking to some ladies for 4 or 5 hours and not have to say a single thing that is considered sharp by my work standards. That is such a nice work detox. That's why I usually do it once a month, and I usually do it on a Monday morning when there is nobody. So I need to find things like that. I don't know. I keep saying I want to go back to painting, but it might be. It's just been harder than I thought. I like ballet. I like chamber music because, again, you're usually surrounded by very, very old people who just enjoy it. So you don't have people shoving a phone in your face as the people are playing. And that is something that I think I am from another generation, because I am completely comfortable going somewhere and not feeling the need to take a picture of it. I just like live in the moment. And so I think just having this introspection as I'm talking to you, that I would probably be doing a lot of old people things, and I don't mind. So let's see in a few weeks when I give you an update of what happened after me slowing down for a few weeks, what I had as a conclusion of what I want to be doing with my free time. I don't have much of it, but I'm coming off of a very low base. I'm coming from not having any time at all. So just having a few hours to think is quite the privilege. And it's a foreign feeling for me. So yeah, that's where we will take it. So I'll continue taking it slow. I've been doing that for now, I think 3 to 4 weeks. And I feel that people have noticed it in how I speak, how I do things, etc. And I like it. Yeah. So that is it for today's video. It was essentially me understanding what has been going on, why I was feeling down, and I have already started acting on it. So I've already started embracing a lot of the small, more menial activities, but doing them with intention. I've been stretching, I've been taking care of my diet, so eating all kinds of nice things. Diet not in a restrictive sense, but really adding variety. Because I did go through a period of time where I was eating exactly the same thing over and over again. So now I'm really introducing quite some variety in the food that I have, in the food that I make, the types of meals. So yeah, quite happy with that. And that is the end of my break. So, to go back to work. See you in my next video.